Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today's guest comes to us from New Jersey, and her name is Ennio Riga. She's a single parent of one kid. Julie is a certified coach, trainer, speaker, and author with over 20 years of experience in the pharma industry. Julie's education is vast with studies that include business, communication, training, and executive coaching. Julie started on this journey because she had a strong desire to pass on the knowledge and skills passed on by her father, Ennio Riga, an inspirational man who taught her how to keep going, irrespective of the challenges that life may present you with. Julie has traveled the world supporting corporations, business leaders, and individuals on their journey of empowerment and growth. Welcome, Julie. It is a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's a little cloudy here in New Jersey, but otherwise doing great. Thank you.
That's amazing. So please share with us, how did you become a single parent? Was this a conscious decision that you made? Was it an accident?
It was a surprise. I was surprised to find out that one day I would become a single parent. It was totally something that I was shocked that it actually happened at the time. I was certainly unprepared for what was ahead. And yeah, it was a surprise to me.
What are some of the challenges you faced as you became a single parent?
Well, I think one of the challenges I really had to deal with was the anger around it all. Mm-hmm. I suffered from anger because, what I found was my husband was cheating on me with another woman. And I very quickly realized that my life had changed forever. My parents had moved to Florida, and I now had a 9-month-old daughter to raise on my own, in a sense. In the beginning, we tried to work it out, but then it just never worked. I just don't believe that he ever stopped seeing the woman that he was with. And so it just was a real long time that it took for me to sort of normalize my life. But I think the anger was one of the problems. Mm-hmm. And I suffered with that many, many years. And then also trying to reclaim my life and redesign my life.
What was the turning point in your life when you decided that, whatever was going on is no longer working and you need to shift? What was that?
Yeah, so that's a good question, because there were two points of time. One when I had to release the anger because it was like destroying me on the inside, and I was just like unforgiveness and stuff. So I was at actually a worship concert. I'm a believer of God, and I went to this worship concert, and it was Casting Crowns that was singing. And I was in the worship session, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to get mad right now. And I couldn't get mad. And then I'm like, I'm going to try it again. And I couldn't get mad. And so it was as if the anger sort of melted off of me. I don't know how else to explain it, but it was almost like a supernatural moment. And in that moment, I released the anger. And however, being a single parent and having to co-parent with somebody, you sometimes pick it up again. I mean, there's many times when you don't think the other parent is parenting the way you would like them to. And so you pick up the anger again, and you sort of like revisit that, but then you sort of realize that was the moment where it started to change. And that was one of the changing moments. And then there was another changing moment that really changed everything for me. And I went to a class at work called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it was in that class where I really learned about the first 2 habits that changed my life. And the first habit was be proactive. Focus on what you can control. And so I began to really focus on what I could control. And then the second habit is called beginning with the end in mind. And that was the piece that really hit home to me as well, because I took it very seriously. I wrote my personal mission statement. And I wrote the personal mission statement on a PowerPoint slide. I printed it up. I made it look pretty. And I had that blueprint for my life in front of me. And I would begin to sort of take that and then plan out my short-term goals and my long-term goals. And I vowed at that moment that I was going to live a good life no matter what had happened to me. I was choosing a good life, and I was choosing that I was pivoting from the anger and the confusion to something that was more directed and focused.
I love it. The 7 habits, I think, is incredible, and it teaches people so many things, not just if you're, after breakup or if you're a single parent, but in general, if you want to improve your life. And the fact that you decided, your second point, you decided that you're going to change your life and you're not going to do your anger anymore and you're going to lead a better life. I think that's an important point to make, that sometimes it takes us to get to the decision, but once we get there, once we make it and sticking to it, and the fact that, you did your vision statement, I think is something that's reminding of you, is always in your face. And how did that change your life? Did you see some things already go into fruition based on what you wrote?
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, that's the power of it all, right? So you begin to make different kinds of choices. And what I began to do is name every year. So every year would get a name. Every year would have certain goals associated with it. And I would write them in my journal. Co-parenting left me alone a couple days a week. And my parents had moved to Florida. I really had to rebuild my community around me. But I did have a couple of things that I like to do. And one of them was to sit with my journals and my Bible and really sit and reflect on what I was doing and who I was. And from the pain of all of the trauma that I experienced, because I really do feel it was a trauma, what happened to me, I really felt that, because I didn't know what to do with my life. Because of that trauma, I found my purpose, because I said to myself, you know what? I didn't go through this for no reason. I went through this for a reason. And the reason was so now that I can help other people go through this. Because at the time, I was like, you know what? I wanted someone to rescue me from the pain. I wanted someone to take it all away. I wanted to, run away, or I coped. I had my own coping mechanism. I didn't run to drugs and alcohol. I ran to like sleeping. I like to take naps. Like that was the thing. I'm just going to like sleep it away, or I'm going to the mall, or I'm going to spend the time by myself learning and helping myself get better. And then I also took up ballroom dancing, by the way. Ballroom dancing was one of my other things that I did. But you really have to nurture yourself through this. You have to give yourself the time and love, like self-love. And so having that personal mission statement and really getting clear on, oh my God, I'm going to live a good life. I'm going to be good to myself. I'm going to be good to my daughter. And I'm not going to allow her to miss out on things because of this. Because one of the things I was so upset about is like, oh, I'm never going to be able to provide a life for my daughter the way she should have had a life. I'm never going to have enough money. I'm never going to I went down that road and I stopped it and I said, no, I'm changing that narrative and I'm going to design something different. So that's when I realized I had the ability to self-author my life. I had the ability to call the shots, and I've been calling the shots ever since, because I was able to recover a career and really set the direction for what that looked like and what I wanted to provide for my daughter. I mean, I've been taking my daughter to Disney World every year, and that's only because I literally had that momentum and plan. And of course I was supported in the fact that my parents provided me an education. Like I did have an education. I really worked hard when I went to work because I got my MBA while I was at work, but I did have the education behind me. So that's what I did have. What I didn't have was a lot of money behind me. I didn't have like, money in my bank account. I mean, there was one bank time where I was like, wow, I could just pay my mortgage and now what? So I did live paycheck to paycheck for a long, long time. And over years and years, I did recover from that, so.
I love it. It's like I'm meeting my other version because I can relate to so many points that you mentioned. And, I also was asking myself this question, who am I? Because there was this loss of identity, because at one point I was someone else's mom, someone else's wife, but who am I now? That's the question I was asking, and also picking up the pieces and rediscovering who I was. And I also did ballroom dancing. I did Argentine tango.
It's super. Ballroom dancing is a great cure for a divorce.
Yes.
Because it keeps you active and it keeps you engaged with people, because ballroom dancing is a social activity, to be honest. And so it forced me to go, because they have a lot of these open nights where you can do dancing socials, dance socials, they call them. So I would go to the dance social if I had nothing to do, and I would talk to the people there. I would dance with some of the men that were also single. And so it was a social event, really. And I was learning something and I was exercising. It was the perfect ingredient for my recovery as a single person, as a single mom.
Yeah. And another thing I did, I was also gotten myself a voice coach and learn how to sing. So it was another activity that kind of helped, because I believe even though we are adults, we are still little kids on the inside, and we do need to practice at least 10 minutes of joy every day for sustainable happiness.
Yes.
Whatever makes you happy, whether it's singing, baking, or exercising, but doing that consistently, I think, helps.
Yes.
So, awesome points you mentioned. If you had an opportunity to go back in the past to your younger self, when you were just with a 9-month-old baby, what kind of advice would you give yourself? Would you do anything differently?
With my divorced self or my child self?
Your divorced self.
That's a good question. I think what I would have done is I would have hired a coach. I would have found a coach that would have helped me through what I went through, because going through it alone I had to figure everything out for myself. And I feel like if I had a coach, I could have gotten there quicker, because what I did is I did try to get a coach, in a sense, in a weird way, but I didn't know that there were coaches out there for this kind of thing. I bought every book possible, but I didn't have somebody to go through it with me, to walk with me through it. Because even though I had my parents like on the phone, they didn't understand what I was going through. There were a lot of people that did not understand what I was going through, because, each individual circumstance is different. So if you hadn't gone through it, you wouldn't have known what to anticipate, what to, like to normalize it. Like, you're going to be angry. You're going to be really angry. It's going to like break you. You're going to like need to figure out how to redesign your life and then help you through that. Like, if someone could have helped me redesign, to help me to say, you really need that mission statement. You really need a new community of women to help rally around you. You need to recreate your family unit, whether that be like you're going to hang out with other single parents, whether there's going to be other single people in your life, single friends. You really need those people in your life. You can't do it alone. And those are the types of things that I would have told myself or would have known. And I would have, also really focused on, don't major on the minors, like maybe don't focus on things that really can't control. That was one of the big moments where I was like, oh my gosh, there were a lot of things that I could not control. And it made me so angry. That anger, like, oh, I'm never going to be able to give my daughter the life I wanted to give her. That was so hard for me to face that and to sort of face the fact that, wow, I'm really all alone in a way. Like my parents are like thousands of miles away. My husband's family, I can't really connect with them the way I used to. Um, and the even the friends that I had as a married woman left me, like those couples that you're friends with, they're gone. They don't want to have anything to do with you afterwards. They don't even know what to do with you. Honestly, they don't know what to do with you. So you're literally forced to find new friends that are open to it. I actually had a friend who I met in my birthing class with my daughter. Our children were born 3 days apart, but for some reason she rallied behind me. She rallied behind me and she was married, but she had the heart for me, so not everybody had the heart for me. So she embraced me into her family, and I would go to her family dinners, and I would spend Sunday afternoons with her and her husband and her son, but she embraced me. So it was like, and thank God for her, really, because she was one of the people that I can say literally helped me survive those moments where I was like, oh my gosh, it's Sunday and Sunday's family day. What do I do? So I would spend the day with her. We would have dinner together. She would just open her doors for me. And I needed that at the time. I needed that. And our kids were the same age. So it was really easy. They were we held them in the little carry-ons together. We sort of raised our kids until they got a little older and didn't want anything to do with each other. But when they were little, they didn't know, so I would bring my daughter over. They would play together. And it was just really nice to have that adult interaction. And I think she appreciated, me as an adult hanging out with her, going through the same ages and phases and stuff like that. So just really rallying those community around you.
I think it's so important who you surround yourself with, and the fact that you were able to find that support, however it worked, that we cannot do everything alone. And I know sometimes we think we can, but they say that it takes a village to raise a child. And I think it's great that you were able to find that.
Yeah.
What do you want to be remembered by?
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because when my father passed away, he left me his life story to finish. And the book, I have the book here. I don't know, can you see it? Stay on Course, The Life and Legacy of Ennio Riga, Chef of the Stars. And so what he wanted to do was he wanted to share his stories with the world and really leave his legacy to his grandchildren and the future generations. And so what I want to be known for, I really want to be known for helping others discover their purpose and stay on course so that they can leave a legacy. And so understanding your purpose to me is the first step. And then understanding how to stay on course with it, getting the right development opportunities to be able to support the vision. And also your calendar, how are you going to schedule that? How are you going to make that happen? So being able to help women hone in on, what is your purpose? Can you turn your pain into your purpose? And can you help others by it? And, one of my things that my father said to me continuously is like, Julie, if you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. And so I want to help people to discover that passion so that they can love what they do every day. Because why should you live a life that is boring and dull when you can live a life that is full of passion and excitement?
I love it. I think it's very beautiful, and your dad is amazing. I read a little bit about your story and what you want to bring about, and the podcast that you're creating in that sense. I think it's really, really incredible, and I love it. What is the most important trait to instill in a child? What do you think about that?
I'm going to go back to the 7 habits again.
Okay.
Because everything that I learned is relevant. And this is a secret for all mothers or parents, right? There is a book called The 7 Habits of Happy Children. And I brought the book. I remember I was my daughter was in first grade and I brought that book and I read a chapter from it and we did an exercise, and really getting that 7 habits of happy children. It's life-changing, because I taught her how to be proactive, how to begin with the end in mind, putting first things first. Those 3 habits we spent a lot of time on, and those are the foundational habits. So before your child becomes, that teenage brain, when you start, there is a point of time where you sort of lose the ability to teach them, in a sense, and now it becomes time for you to coach them. But before they get to that point, I would try to instill the habits in them, the 7 habits, and really go through it with them. That is the biggest benefit. And it really did change my daughter's life, because she still has those things. She doesn't even realize that I did that with her. She doesn't even understand. Yesterday, her friend was on the phone and she's like, Julie, your daughter has so many abilities that we don't have. Like, she just knows things that we don't. And I'm like, give me an example of that, And I'm like, did I really influence her that way? Did it work? I guess it worked.
That's incredible. I love it. I think that's the best advice yet. Is, I'm gonna take a look myself.
Buy the book.
Happy.
Buy the book, The 7 Habits of Happy Children, or Kids, I think it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I have it right here. Yeah, here it is. The 7 Habits of Happy Kids. It is.
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I see? Okay, here it is.
Yeah.
This book, and what's so good about this book is, like, you can figure out exercises to do with them. And when they're young, they're really engaged. You get them really engaged because it's like a story you would read your children at night, right? You're
Right.
always reading stories at night. Why not read something that is actually going to teach them and give them a foundation of what is possible? And so you teach them young, and then when they grow up, they don't even realize it, but you've instilled these principles in them.
Mm-hmm.
And they start to use the principles. Let's put first things first. All right, let's fold the laundry before we watch TV. Let's clean up the dishes before we have fun at night, or like do movie night.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do our homework before we have our dessert. Those are like little things. And so as they grow up, they don't even realize it, but they naturally do it. The younger you teach them and train them, the easier it is when they get older.
All right. I think I already missed the boat on one, but I'm going to try to do the second one.
Yeah, exactly. Because there is an age, right, that they just don't want to do that anymore. Right? When they're young, they want to read the book with you. They want to look at the pages. They want to spend the time with you before they go to bed. That time is precious. And the minute they stop wanting to do that is the minute you lose that chance. So then other people have to train them up. That's when the school, or like they have to go to a class because they won't hear it from you anymore because they think you're stupid. At whatever age, when they actually think you're not smart anymore, is the age that you lose the chance. I mean, I'm sure there's other ways to do it. I don't know if you lose the chance completely, but I know that, with a teenager at a certain age, it becomes really difficult.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What kind of advice can you share with single parents?
The advice is to really give yourself love, to spend the time with yourself, to always be developing yourself, because that just makes you stronger and it makes you prepared for what is ahead. Because with every age that you're raising the child comes a difficult thing.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's so important to do that, to have that self-love component and patience and being present. Where would people like to, if they want to work with you or connect, learn more about you, where would they go?
So julieriga.com has information to everything that I have. Mm-hmm. And that is where you can find my information about my new podcast coming up, my book, and my offerings. I'm a certified coach, And if anybody would like to schedule a half-hour session with me to learn more about what I do and how I can help, you can find all of that information, julieriga.com.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming on, sharing your story, your wisdom. And I love your suggestion of the 7 habits of happy children. I think that's incredible. And congratulations on launching your podcast and leaving that legacy that your father left you to spread it to the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me today.